can look back at it. But let's look at this first one. So these ones, I need you to show work on this entire test. So as you're going through this, make sure you are showing work. But these first ones, if we're solving by factoring, that just means that we are going to set it equal to 0. So set the problem equal to 0. And then factor, and then set factors equal to 0. Okay, pretty easy. So like this one, I would just add the 14 over first because I want this to be set equal to 0. So I end up getting x squared minus 9x plus 14 equals 0. And then I can just factor this. So I can see what multiplies to give me 14, adds to give me negative 9. Well, that's going to be negative 7 and negative 2. So this will be x minus 7, x minus 2 equals 0. Which means if we set those equal to 0, I have x minus 7 equals 0 and x minus 2 equals 0. So this one I would add the 7 and get x equals 7. This one I would add the 2 and get x equals 2. Okay, any questions with that one? This one, same thing, set it equal to 0. So I'm going to subtract the 8 and add the 18n. So I would get 5n squared plus 18n minus 8. And then we just have to factor it. So then you'll just factor this, get your two factors, whatever they are, and then set them equal to 0. Okay. Is there any questions on that one? Do you want me to actually work that one out? Are we good with that? All right. I'm going to assume we're good. Let's go down to this one. So we need to sketch this function by factoring and finding the vertex algebraically. And then we want to identify the x-intercepts and the vertex and graph it. Okay. So the vertex for this is x equals negative b over 2 times a. Okay. And then to find the y value, we're just going to plug in this function to the y value. So then we would plug in to find y. Okay, so first thing I'm going to do, before I even find my vertex, I'm going to find my zeros. So to find the zeros, I'm going to factor this, see what multiplies to be negative 3, adds to be 2. Well, it happens to be 3 and negative 1. So then I have x plus 3, x minus 1, and we're setting those equal to 0. So then I can just do it individually. X plus 3 equals 0. X minus 1 equals 0. So from this one, I get x equals negative 3. And from this one, I get x equals positive 1. So those are my two zeros, and I could just go graph them right now. So negative 3 and positive 1. Okay, and then to find the vertex, so the vertex here is x equals negative b over 2a. Well, we just need to figure out what b and a are. So a up here is whatever's in front of that x squared. And if there's nothing there, we assume it's a 1. So this will be a equals 1. Here it's a 2, so that's b equals 2, and c equals negative 3, which we don't really care about our c value for the vertex. So then this is going to be b is 2, so that's negative 2 over 2 times 1, which is negative 2 over 2, which is negative 1. So the x value of the vertex is negative 1. To find the y value, I'm just going to plug that in. So I have negative 1 squared plus 2 times negative 1 minus 3. Well, negative 1 squared is positive 1. 2 times negative 1 is negative 2, and then minus 3. which 1 minus 2 is -1, minus 3 is -4. So our vertex is at -1, -4. Okay, -1, -4. We have 3 points there now, so we can just graph that. Okay, any questions on that one? That was like the 2.1 homework. Okay, let's keep going. So then there's going to be 2 of that type of problem. This one, so completing the square, this first part, you're going to describe it in words. So I'm just going to go through and like complete the square, and then you would just, this one, number 5, you have to describe it in words. Describe it using words, okay? And then to actually complete the square, basically we're trying to make this so that we can put it in the form as like x plus, we'll just call it, I don't know, h, I guess, squared, or x minus h squared. Or it might even make more sense if we think about this. It's just x plus some number, so let's just put like the number symbol. So x plus some number and y minus some number squared. So this is the form we're trying to get it in, okay? To do that, we're going to take our b value. So we look at the b value right here. And we're going to divide it by 2. And a must be 1, so a has to equal 1. We're taking the b value, and we're dividing it by 2. So I'm going to take this -6, and I'm going to divide it by 2. And I get -3. But that's not what C is. We're going to take that -3 now, and we're going to square it. So then we're going to take -3, and we're going to square it, which -3 squared is 9. So that is what C equals. So C equals 9, which is the first part of this question. And then we want to write it as a perfect square, which basically I need to factor it. So it would be x squared minus 6x plus 9. If I factor this, I'm seeing what multiplies to be 9 adds to be -6, which is -3 and -3. Same as the number when we divided by 2. That will always happen, okay? So then we can rewrite this as x minus 3, which really is x minus 3 squared. So this is the first part of your answer. This is the second part. Is there any questions on that one? Okay. So there's going to be 2 of those ones. These ones, so we have to sketch these graphs using, this is called vertex form here. So the vertex form for a parabola is y equals a x minus h squared plus k, which this tells us a lot. It's the vertex form. I should write form right here. It tells us exactly what the vertex is. So the vertex is h comma k. And notice how this is a negative h. So this is always the opposite of that. Okay, and then this a value here is going to tell us what the vertical stretch is. Whoa, that was ugly writing, stretch. Okay, so here what we're going to do is first we're going to identify what the vertex is, which the vertex in this case, this would be my a is 2, h is the opposite of that, so -2, and k is also -2. So our vertex is going to be -2, comma -2. Right, so -2 down 2, there's our vertex right there. And then we need to figure out like how high up this is going or how wide it is. So we need to look at this table right here, always use the same table. So y equals x squared, which this will be x, this will be y. So I'm going to plug in from -2 to 2. To find our y values, if I plug in 0, well, 0 squared is 0, so that means the y is 0. If I plugged in 1, 1 squared is 1. -1 squared is also 1. 2 squared is 4, and -2 squared is also 4. This table right here will not change. So this always stays this way. So I'll just put will not change. Okay. But we need to use our a value here. So this is for like our parent graph, our parent function here. But we have moved our parent function, so it's not right on 0, 0. We need to figure out, well, how high up am I going? How wide am I going? So I look at this a value here, I look at the 2, and I'm going to multiply all of these y values here by 2. So 2 times 4 is 8. 1 times 2 is 2. 0, 2, and 8. I'm going to think about this point right here as it's our vertex. So this can be like our 0, 0 point. So typically I would go over 1, up 1, but this time I'm going over to the right one and up 2. So I'd go over 2, over 1, up 2, and it's right there. Do the same thing to the left. And then for the for the 2, I'm going to go over 2, up 8. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 right there. And that's what that parabola looks like. Is there any questions on that one? Okay. If you do have questions and you just don't want to unmute your mic, you can write them in the chat. I have the chat open, so. Oh, whoops. Okay, let's go down. Why is it doing that? Let's do one like this. So this one is not in vertex form. It cannot be factored. So we need to figure out how to do this, which means that we are going to complete the square. The same way that we did before, we need to complete the square here. So to do this, especially one like this, it has this number right here. Remember I said that a needed to equal 1? Well, let's separate a and b and the last. So separate our x squared term and our x term and the constant term. So I'm just going to rewrite this as 2x squared plus 16x plus some blank that we don't know yet, and then plus 31. Okay, I haven't really changed anything. I just wrote it out further. Okay, now I want this to be just an x right there. So to get rid of that 2, I need to divide by 2. Which if I divide by 2, that means that this 2 is just going to come on the outside here. And then I'm left with 2x squared divided by 2 is x squared. 16x divided by 2 is 8x. And we still have plus that blank, and we still have plus the 31. Okay, still haven't changed anything. This is still the same equation. Okay, but now I'm going to complete the square the same way that we completed the square before. So I'm going to take the 8, and I'm going to divide it by 2, and we get 4. Then I'm going to square the 4. So then I'm going to do 4 squared, which will give us 16. So that's what I'm going to add right here is the 16. But now I have changed the function. So all those other steps before, we were just rearranging the function, but now I've actually changed it by adding the 16. So I have to undo that addition there somehow. But if we look at this, so we have this 2 here. I really added more than 16. because that 2, when we simplify this out, I'm going to end up multiplying that 2 in. Well, 2 times 16 is 32. So I really added 32 there, which means that I am going to undo that addition of 32, I need to subtract 32. That was kind of a weird step. Is there any questions with that? Okay. So then we just have to simplify this down, and we're almost into vertex form where we can just start graphing this. So this will be 2, and then this part can be written as x plus 4 squared. And then 31 minus 32 is negative 1. Now this is something that we can graph. It's just like the other one. So like a will equal 2 here, h will equal negative 4, and k will equal negative 1. So then our vertex here is negative 4, negative 1. So back 4, down 1. There's our vertex. And then we need to figure out what the rest of this graph looks like. So we're going to look at our table from before. So negative 2 to 2. So it'd be 4, 1, 0, 1, 4. And I am going to multiply by our a value. So a equals 2. So I'm going to multiply by 2. So that's 8, 2, 0, 2, 4. So I'd go right 1 up 2, left 1 up 2, right 2 up, oh, that's not a 4, that's an 8. Up 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And then same thing here. And there is that function. Okay. Any questions with that one? We're all okay. Remember, you can put them in the chat if you want to. Okay. Let's look at, so there's 2 of those ones. These ones, so describing end behavior. I would draw this chart that I'm about to draw. So for end behavior, we have our exponents. And we have our leading coefficient. So this is just going to be like a box we're going to draw here. So the only 2 things that our exponents can be is they can either be even or they can be odd. And our leading coefficient can either be positive or it can be negative. Okay. So if it is even means that they are going the same way. Same direction. Okay, if it's odd, they are going in opposite directions. But we have this positive, negative also. So if it's even and positive, they're just both going up. Your sides are both going up right here. Okay, if it's even and negative, that just flips it. And so they both go down. And there could be some weird stuff happening in the middle of these. But I don't really care about it. Okay, I only care about if they're both going up or they're both going down. Okay. Now, odd means they're opposite. So like one's up, one's down. If it's odd and positive, that means it ends positive and it's going to start the other way. So it's going to end or start negative. If it's odd and negative, it ends negative, which means it's going to start positive. Okay, so like this first one, if we needed to describe this without graphing it, I can just look at my highest exponent there, which would be that 6. 6 is even. And then this negative 3 is negative. So even is going to be this. Negative is this, so it's going to be that one right there. Okay, which means these are both going down. And that's literally, well, it's asking you to describe this in words, so you would say both ends go down. That's not how you spell both. Both ends go down. Okay. This one, I want to erase these. Negative. Okay, this one. So this one is also even and negative. So this means that's all you'd have to draw for that. That's literally it. Okay, this one, this is odd and it's positive, which odd and positive, it ends positive and it starts negative. Okay. Now we're going to use this to graph them, to graph graphs like this. Okay. Let's do this one. So here, this is basically like 15 is doing what we did, like all the beginning stuff to actually graphing it. So I'm just going to do 16 because that tells you how to do 15 also. But here we want to find the zeros and their multiplicity, and then we want to put it onto a graph. So to find the zeros, I'm going to set everything with an x equal to 0. So I'm going to set this equal to 0 and this equal to 0. So I have x minus 2 equals 0, and I also have x plus 4 equaling 0. Just solve these so I can add the 2 over, and I get x equals 2, which I can put that on the graph right now. And then I can subtract the 4 over, and I get x equals negative 4. Okay. So then here, I need to find my multiplicities. So multiplicity, this is really just the exponent power. Okay, it's really just the exponent. So on the x equals 2, we have an exponent of 2. So that means that this has a multiplicity of 2. On the x equals negative 4, there is not exponent there, which means that it's a 1. Anytime there's not an exponent, just assume it's a 1. So this has a multiplicity of 1. Okay, even multiplicities touch the x-axis, or you can think of them as like bouncing off the x-axis. So it's just going to go up to the x-axis and hit it and come right back off. And if it's an odd multiplicity, it is going to cross through. Okay, it's going to cut right through the x-axis. So like this 2 here, if it has a multiplicity of 2, that means that it is even and it's going to touch. So at the x equals 2, I'm going to put a t right there. So I know that that's just touching it. And then at the x equals negative 4, we have a multiplicity of 1, which is odd. So this is going to cross. So at the negative 4, it's going to cross. Okay. Then the last thing we need is our end behavior here. So for this one, negative or x minus 2 squared, I'm going to end up with an x squared out of that. And x plus 4, I'm going to end up with just an x out of that. So I can just multiply those together. X squared times x. This is for the end behavior. You get x cubed, which is an odd exponent. If we look at the very beginning of this equation, there's no negative sign, which means that it must be positive. So odd and positive means it ends positive and starts negative. Okay, so I'm going to end this graph positive. So I have to end with this going up. And I have to start negative here. If I'm going left to right, that just means I'm crossing through that one. I'm going to come down. I'm going to touch that one and go right back up. Okay. Any questions with that one? We feel okay about it, hopefully. Okay. So there's going to be 2 of those types of problems. And then let's do this last one. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit. So we want to write a polynomial function given these zeros here. So to do that, I'm just going to set each of these zeros equal to x. So I have x equals negative 5/4. I have x equals 4/5. And I have x equals 3. To get these back, we need to set these equal to 0. We need to somehow manipulate this so that it's equal to 0. So let's start with this first one. I'm going to multiply by 4. So I get 4x equals negative 5. The last thing to get this equal to 0, I'm going to add that 5 over. So I get 4x plus 5 for that one. Okay, this one I'm going to multiply by 5. So I get 5x equals 4, subtract the 4, and I get 5x minus 4. This one, I'm just going to subtract the 3. So I get x minus 3. Okay, so we need to actually multiply these out. So here, we're going to do, actually I'll keep it zoomed in. I'm just going to write it over here. So this will be 4x plus 5, 5x minus 4, and x minus 3. So I just need to multiply this whole thing out. So I can start by multiplying these two, which I'm just going to make a box. I'll do it up here. So I have 4x plus 5, 5x minus 4, which that's going to be 20x squared. That's 25x, negative 16x, and negative 20. Combine all that, you get 20x squared. 25x minus 16x is 9x minus 20, multiplied by x minus 3. And then I just need to multiply these two together. And again, I'm just going to use a box. I'll write it up here. So I have x minus 3, and I have 20x squared, 9x, and negative 20. So this is going to be 20x cubed, 9x squared, negative 20x, negative 60x squared, negative 27x, and 60. So then my final answer is 20x cubed. Those two combine to be negative 51x squared. Those combine to be negative 47x, and then plus 60. Okay. And then that is pretty much it. I don't have anything else planned. When you do take the test, you're supposed to print it out. If you don't have a printer, then you can just write it down on scratch paper. Just please stay very organized so that I can go through it. There will be some review problems. I'm just not going through the review problems. I just did all of the new material on here. Okay, so if you guys have questions, you're welcome to stick around, but that's all that I had for you.